Do you wanna go? Go to a place I wanna go. Go to a place. Do you wanna go? Go to a place I wanna go. Go to a place I can take you there. I can take you there.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Mosaic with TJ Randolph. I am TJ Randolph, and I am joined here today with my dad and my brother, live and in person. So we were live and in person with my dad a couple of days ago, but now we're here live and in person with my brother too, because he was having technical difficulties. So we just want to have a quick part two of the conversation that we had the other day. And we've had some interesting conversations, my dad and myself. Let me see, who do we have here? Hey, good morning, We Unlock. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So we're here having some coffee. My sister-in-law made me this lovely United States Army mug because I am United States Army and Navy, but I can only drink out of one at a time. So she made me a Army and Navy mug. So this is it. I'm allowing, good morning, M. Mills. I'm allowing my brother to drink out of my Delta cup. You know that's love. That's love. Can y'all hear us okay? Can you hear me okay? We're doing something a little different. Oh, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you. Good morning. Appreciate you. Now, we want to finish the conversation. And okay, you can hear me. You can hear. Okay, so great. Because I have the we're at the kitchen table. You still got my pajamas on. I got to look, reasonably fashionable. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about, I think the conversation with my dad the other day was really good. And Dad, you said that you learned some things that you didn't know.
Yeah, it's interesting to know that your children talk amongst themselves, which meaning is that I found some things out that I didn't know. How might have been, I'll say maybe some envious between my children. My sons felt that, in a sense, that I catered more toward my daughter than them because she had the opportunity to live with me versus that they didn't. Okay, but I'm just gonna let you know the reasoning why that my daughter. Can I be frank?
Yeah.
That my daughter lived with me is because at the time she was still relatively young. She was still in elementary school, and her mother and her didn't see eye to eye on certain things. And whereas that my daughter could always talk to me about any and everything, even since she was a child, even to now. Sometimes some things I'm kind of shocked to hear come out of her mouth but I have to realize that she's grown woman, but my kids are always my babies. I don't care how old they get. But going fast forward, the reason why that my daughter came with me because, like I said, once again, I know I'm being redundant. that her mother and her wouldn't get along. So her mother called me. She said, you know, you need to send for her because so and so, so and so. And I said, well, send her, ain't no problem. You know, I said, I'll go get the ticket, ain't no problem. Um, so my daughter came to live with me. I went and picked her up at the airport and brought her home with me. And I think she was a little shocked to find out the living arrangements that was going on in my house. You know, I had my troops stand with me. For those that don't know what troops are, I had my women living with me. Okay. And she was pretty receptive to that because she really didn't know what was going on. Not really. But however, after a period of time, my daughter was with me, and my troops would take her out shopping every day, every week, and she was able to buy whatever she wanted, you know. And my sons felt that in other words, she was getting more than what they was getting. Okay, but I never knew that. Okay, but then after a while, when she kind of found out what was going on, she told me that she wanted to go back to Oklahoma. Okay. I never knew the reason why she really wanted to go back to Oklahoma. Well, actually, I thought she was going back to visit and come back. Okay. But lo and behold, she wouldn't stay. And that really hurt me because I hadn't had a real strong connection with my daughter, you know, when she was coming up as a young child. And I felt the Lord gave me the opportunity to connect with her. I had always been connected with my sons and stuff like that because they lived here and whatever. But then I found out that they wasn't pleased with me as well because I made promises that I didn't keep. And I didn't know how much of an impact that was on them, you know. I felt that, and I tell my kids all the time, I'm your daddy, you're none of mine. You know.
That's what you always say. I'm your daddy.
So in the interim, I thought that they were satisfied, and I use this term here, with little bits and pieces I was giving them. Okay, but they wasn't. Okay. But then getting back to you not knowing how your children are feeling, my son and my daughter had conversations about their feelings about me and stuff like that. And then my son told my daughter how hurt I was, you know.
Because I didn't know for like, gosh, when did we didn't even talk about that until you came to live with me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
yeah,
I didn't even know that until what?
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Yeah.
So I didn't even know that. Mm-hmm. Only thing I knew was the impact of what happened when I went back home. But when Vaughn told me the why, I'm like, so that's why. Because listen, so we're talking about I'm into my 40s and I didn't even know that my dad was hurt by it. I just thought, you know, and at the end it didn't really matter because as a child you still want what you want. But I just thought he was just being selfish and just didn't care about me. But he was hurt.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, Daddy cared so much about you, Terry. And that's why me and Ronald had that envy. Because we felt Daddy did everything for you. And he didn't do anything for us.
Well, and to that point, though, remember I told you that I was jealous of y'all because I thought y'all had a closer relationship with him because y'all had known him longer. Because I didn't meet him until like I was 5 or 6. Right. So I was jealous of y'all because again, I'm not knowing the relationship that y'all had with Daddy, but I just knew that y'all knew him from day one, and I didn't. So we were both jealous of each other.
That's crazy. We used to say, "Oh, there go Daddy's little angel Terry getting everything she wants, and we ain't getting nothing but getting in trouble." Because, like she said, Terry and Daddy troops would go out and shop for Terry every single day. She would have gifts. We go over there on the weekend, and she said, "Look what I got! Look what I got! Look what I got!" Look what... We look at it. Oh, okay, that's nice. You got all this stuff. What about us? That's crazy, though, how life is like that.
Yeah,
It is. It is.
People can assume something. That assume word.
Yeah.
We assume certain things. She assumed that me and Ronald had a closer relationship with Daddy because we knew her. We knew him longer. And we assumed that she had a better relationship with him because she was living with him. And we did not live with my dad. We lived with my mother. But Terry got the opportunity to live with my dad. And that used to really upset Ronald really bad. Because Ronald wanted to live with you all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And he did live with you back and forth.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it's all family love, but I think, that's one of the reasons that we're sharing now because, again, we're grown.
Right.
Shoot, my brother 56. He just turned 56 yet. I'm 55.
Real grown.
Okay, so let's do a little quick math, shall we?
I'm 56.
No. You 56. I'm 55. And our younger brother will be 55 in December.
Yeah.
And I'm 74.
So there is 6 months difference between me and my younger brother.
Yeah.
Can we do the math?
And there's 9 months difference between me and you.
How about that?
Yeah.
I was a little busy.
Just a tad. So listen, to that point, that brings us to our first topic.
Okay.
Be careful who you choose to procreate with.
My God.
Men and women.
That's right.
My God.
Men and women, be careful. Okay, men, be careful who you plant your seed in.
Right.
Women, be careful who you give your eggs to.
I like that. It's cute.
So, why are we talking about that, Dad?
Well, I was talking to my daughter, and I told my son on numerous occasions. I probably told my daughter on numerous occasions as well. God had blessed me. Now, hear me out. God had blessed me for the women that had my children. Okay? God had blessed me for the women that had my children. I have these 3 children. I don't have children all over the world. Not to say I wouldn't, going around, doing what I do, but God made it possible that the women that bore my children were solid women. Okay, they were good. I wasn't good. Okay, and I say that, but they liked me, from whatever, I used to be, fine, now I'm just cute. But
Fine, now I'm cute.
yeah, young men, young ladies. And I'm gonna be a little different than my daughter, how she served it. Young men, be careful who you lay down with. Young ladies, be careful who you open your legs to.
That's very true. Very true.
Because you don't know what might happen. The guy might not be daddy material.
Right.
Like I wasn't daddy material. I wasn't. I'm doing what young men do, not thinking about the consequences. I won't say consequences because my kids aren't consequences. My kids are blessings. Results, yeah.
Yeah.
Not thinking about the results, okay? Because you didn't do what you were supposed to do to protect yourself, nor did the women do that as well. But what you have to understand, we're talking about back in the 60s.
They didn't have birth control then.
And even if they did, you can talk to your parents about no birth control.
No, you couldn't.
They didn't have
No,
no
you couldn't.
abortions. They did not have abortions either.
No.
So yes. So I hope I answered that question.
Well, it's important too because one of the things we were talking about is you say you weren't father material, but really they weren't mother material because they were both so young.
Right.
But they had good parents.
That's
Right.
Good parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Came from good stock.
Good stock. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had good parents.
Yes.
And
And that's the difference.
because my mom was 17, well, she was 17 when she had me. Your mom was how 18 when she had you, and then 19 when she had Ronald?
Yeah.
So they were under 20.
We all was
Under 20. Everybody was under 20. But my bonus mom, because she was my aunt, I'd call her my stepmom because they didn't have the bonus word then. She came from a wonderful, well, you talking about your mom.
My mama, I was just thinking about when you was talking about having the children, and my mother used to always tell me, son, lay all your eggs in one basket.
Ooh.
And I never understood that.
Right.
She would always say that. Lay all your eggs in one basket. Because if you have more baskets, you have more problems. Lay all your eggs in one basket.
I like that.
I do too.
And you
I
know,
like that.
my mother used to always tell me and my brother that. And I don't want to talk about my brother, but he laid his eggs in a bunch of baskets. But he's a great father. He's a great
He
father.
didn't listen.
He's a great father, but he laid his eggs in a lot
Many
of baskets. More than daddy did. Way more than daddy did. But you know, that's one thing. My mother was a great woman. You know, she had a great family that supported her through everything. You know, and you know, think about actually both of my parents said that I graduated high school with them.
Yeah.
I remember my mother was going to her 40th class reunion, and she had been dead already. And I was talking to her best friend, Clarice. She goes, Vaughn, you need to go to class reunion with us. I said, Clarice, I didn't graduate this. She goes, yes, you did. Yeah. So you graduated twice from high school. Once in your mama's stomach, and then once when you graduated.
That's it.
So that's what my parents dealt with. They were children when they had a shot, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't hold no faults against my dad now as an old man. And I don't want to say old, as an older man. I don't hold no faults against my dad because I realized my dad was just a kid when he had children.
Yeah.
And he didn't have one child. It would have been different if he had one child. But he had 3 children before he was 19 years old. Three of them.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because in these spaces, we talk about, you know, the multiple baby daddy or the baby mama, even though I hate those phrases. But that was happening then too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you say, it is different because there's a lot more education. We are talking more freely about it, but people are still reckless.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know, I talk about that. I was reckless, and when I got pregnant with Danielle at 26, you know, and I knew better. So it happens, but it's what you gonna do with it after it happens. And so going back to that, my mom was, you know, like we was talking about my bonus mom. My mom was a child because she was still living with my grandfather when she got pregnant with me at 16, 17, wasn't it? 17. So she's still living in my grandfather's house.
Mm-hmm.
But because, like my dad said, they came from solid families, Christian family, you know, whatever people want to talk about Christianity and religion. We're not talking about that today, but I'm gonna tell you what, my bonus mother came from family in the church and in the word.
Yeah,
my grandfather.
Showed you.
And they kids did what they were gonna do, but they knew what was gonna crack off in my house.
That's right.
Right. For sure. That's real talk.
That's right.
And when it got to a point, because and many times, you know, the grandparents were raising the kids, even though the kids was in the house,
Right.
you know, because I think with your grandparents, they helped your mom a lot, you said.
Because when my mom was pregnant with me, my mom still lived with my grandparents.
Sure did.
You know, and my first father in my life was my grandfather. You know,
Same with me.
When James wasn't there, my dad wasn't there, my grandfather was my father. Matter of fact, I heard my grandfather potty trained me.
Oh.
You know, at 9 months old,
Probably
they said that my grandfather would hold me upside down and whoop my butt, and I stopped peeing and moving on myself.
Let's move on, shall we?
The thing was, my grandfather raised me until my father was able to do it, and that's the thing. You know, good families are able to do that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the moral of the story.
And here's the thing, and my dad said, even without birth control and all that kind of stuff, he don't have kids all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And even though our respective moms had challenges where he was concerned, they did the best they could with us. Not to say they were perfect, because they weren't,
Right.
but they weren't out doing a bunch of reckless stuff, and whatever stuff they was doing, they wasn't doing it in front of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they was teaching us the right thing. So let's move on to this part too. Before we get to, I just thought about this. Since we were kids, I've never said my half brother,
No.
my half brothers.
No, there's no such thing.
There's no such
There's no
thing.
such thing.
There's no half brothers, no
Nope.
half sisters. Dad, what you got on that?
Well, okay. When my children were young, and then once I got my daughter and stuff like that connected before she left and went to Oklahoma, I had all the kids together. I'll never forget this day. Well, I was thinking emotional.
Don't get emotional. You can get emotional, Dad. It's okay. Hit the like button.
And I told my kids, I said, this ain't no half nothing. I said, who am I? You said, Daddy. And I said, that's it. You know, this ain't. You all my children. Ain't no have nothing popping off here. Because I'm your daddy, you know. And did the same blood flow through y'all. Flow through me, flow through y'all.
You got me crying this morning, Father. I'm not, you know.
Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. It's just the truth. And I remember that time because, Lord, I didn't have sisters and brothers.
Only child.
I'm the only child. And always wanted to have my kids to have the connection that I didn't have. And I told my sons, I don't want you guys fight one another because you're brother. And they would do their little thing, but they wouldn't let me know. I'd whoop their ass. You know, so because see, I longed for what they had. I didn't have that. And you know, I'm excuse me for being emotional, but it just brings back emotions to me. Times that, you know, I was trying to be the best father I could at that time. I thought the connection was, you know, had to make that bond. Like my daughter said, we discussed it yesterday that ain't no half nothing here. Daddy.
And to that point, going back to who you choose to have your children with, because their mother loved me.
Sure did.
Sure did.
Loved
mother
me.
loved them.
Yeah, and my mom
And
still
her
does.
mama loves me.
Yeah.
Mama Shirley, I call her Mama Shirley. And Mama Shirley loves the mess out of Von Allen. She said that's her son. She called me her son.
Yeah.
Terry's sister, Tammy, she's not my sister, but guess what? She is my sister.
Right.
That is my sister.
And Star is my
And
sister.
Star is her sister.
Yeah.
Our family is a complete bonded, together family. We don't take this person.
No.
We're all family.
Yeah.
And that's
Tammy
what-
is my sister.
And that's what we want you to take from it also too. So again, men and women, like my dad said, you know, who you laying down with?
Be careful.
Who you laying down with? And where they come from? Where they come from? Who, as my husband say, where your people from?
Where your people from?
Where your people from?
Where your people from?
Red lipstick vibes in here from New Orleans. Shit, where your people from? So that's very important. And I think, and here's the bottom line up front too. These women, of course, they are moms. They had class.
They had class, very classy women.
Mm-hmm.
Very classy women. Could have had any man they wanted.
But they chose James.
Yeah. Lord, have
Very
mercy.
classy
Lord, have
women.
mercy.
They would, and here's right there. We talked about that. They had ratchetness back then.
Sure did.
They may have called it something
I
different.
don't know what they called it back then. Fast, huh?
Yeah,
Fast.
Yeah, fast tail.
Womanishness.
Yeah.
So
So
me and mannish, huh?
yeah. So you know that has always been around. But again, who you choosing to be around, and now it's so much more flamboyant with the hair. You know, I got my wig. Y'all know me. You know your auntie is gonna crack it off. But I ain't got a whole bunch of lashes that look like peacocks, as Mr. Randolph said. Lashes that look like peacocks and nails that look like raptor claws. You know, so it's important when they can be cute or fine even,
But tasteful though.
but who you laying down with? And this is an aside because shout out to cruise season because I have to go talk about that. Trill talked about he knew that he wanted to wait or he had a plan for how he had kids, and it wasn't going to be before out of wedlock.
Right.
So, and he stuck to that plan. So, it could happen.
Yeah.
I say this about my daughter's father, my ex-husband. With all of our differences, and they are many, you know.
Yeah.
But in 28 years, he ain't had no kids all over the world. He got one.
Mm-hmm.
Which is our daughter.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I met this young man in Wichita Falls. He's about 36 years old. He has 32 children.
Stop the madness.
32 children. I met his daughter first, and she said, yeah, you know, my dad. And I said, how old is your dad? She goes, he's 32 years old. I said, how many brothers and sisters you have? She goes, well, on my mother's side, I have one, but on my daddy's side, I have 32.
My God.
32 children.
So, I hold the women and men responsible for that because any woman gonna lay down with a man that got that many kids, that's
something wrong
that's
with you.
that's on you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see what our next topic is. You have anything else before we move on to the next one, Dad?
I had a thought, but it went away, but it'll come back.
Okay, when it comes back, we'll just interrupt.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking about the impact of the price of you got it. Okay.
My son has shared something with me, and this goes out to the sisters. My son has shared with me that their mother told them that always respect your father. That's your father. I'm getting emotional again.
You know, speaking about that, Dad, I remember that as a kid, being very upset with you and talking to my mama about, my daddy didn't show up and he's no good and this and this. And she would say, Vaughn, that's your daddy. Regardless of how you feel, always respect your daddy. I know he didn't do what you want him to do, but that is your father. And you will not talk bad about your father to me. I'm not going to hear that. And I just get so mad at my mother, like, Mom, I want you to be on my side. He didn't show up. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. And she said, that's your daddy. Don't say nothing bad about your daddy to me. She would not let nobody talk bad about this man right here.
And that's the same thing. And that's another thing, mothers, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. That's the worst thing you can do.
Don't do that, and my mom wouldn't allow it either. Now, she may have had her own words, but she kept that from me. Because I'm
sure my mother had her own words too.
And even with my daughter's father, and my brother knows how bad we butted heads.
Lord have mercy.
We're not gonna talk about that.
Lord have
but
mercy.
my brother knows how bad we butted because he had to be the mediator at many
Lord
times.
have mercy, so many times.
The mediator or the enforcer. But anyway,
both of them. And I said enforcement too.
Yeah. But I never talked badly about Danielle's father to her. And even when I couldn't stand his ass the most, I never did.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't absolve us for what she saw, absolve me from what she saw with us arguing because that still played a role. But I never, bashed her father. So ladies, you can be pissed off.
Yeah.
You can be scorned. You can feel deceived. You can be all that may or may not be true if you peel back the layers and say, well, I should have done this yourself. But all that notwithstanding, do not disparage the father to the child. If the father ain't about it, the child will find out on their own.
That's right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Let's touch on scorned.
Okay, go ahead.
I often wondered why Tara's mother really, at one point, started really disliking me. I won't use the word hate because it's a powerful word, but disliking me because I wasn't there when I should have been there. But I shared with my daughter the other day. Even though at the time I had 3 children, I'm trying to do a little bit for these, my son, his brother, and my daughter, and stuff like that. So we're talking about in the 60s and early 70s, whatever. So I had a little job, and I went by my daughter's mother's house, and I think Terry was still a baby, and I'll never forget that as well. Knocked on the door. Grandfather came to the door, and I said, Mrs. Jones, is Shirley here? Then they called her, Shirley, James out here. And so her mother came to the door, not in a good mood. Okay. And I said, well, I bought this money for the baby. And I'll never forget, she had the screen door cracked. And she took the money. I thought she was going to keep it. She took the money, tore it up, and threw it in my face. And that hurt my feelings because I was trying. I was trying to do the best I could at that time, and part of hurt my feelings. That made me bitter. It really made me bitter. And there were times that I really had the money after that situation. But you know what? I was so bitter and hurt. I said, F it. I ain't doing nothing. But that's a wrong attitude. But keep in mind, I still was a child myself. I was in my early 20s. But to a man, that hurts his feelings. That hurts his pride. But the punchline is that I didn't know about me being angry with her mother, impact it had on her, because she did without. And so that's why the parents, you got to be on one accord about these children.
Right.
Because our selfish anger toward one another impact our children, and it's important, sisters, brothers, to do what you can, and sisters, accept what they give you. It might not be all what you think it should be, and it's probably not.
Right.
But it's an effort. Appreciate the effort,
And think about like I said, think about the children more than yourself, and think about the children. Love the children more than you despise the other parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that is real.
Got to remove yourself.
And it's very, especially those of us who did not grow up with one of the other parent. Why would you want to replicate that?
Right.
Yes.
Because
yes.
you're mad.
Yes. Yeah.
Dad, we have a question here. So I have a question. What does it mean being a father versus being a dad?
Good question. Okay, a father is a nurturer. Take care there when they're crying and all this and their needs, and as they grow older, going to school. I remember I used to go to my son's school. He might want to tell you, check on them, how they're doing in school. I'm a great advocate about education.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
I'm a great advocate for education. I didn't allow my children to get C's.
No,
I didn't allow that.
Tell them what you said.
I remember one time Daddy took me and my brother to Skid Row in Los Angeles, driving around, because I got a C on my report card. And he said, the C means average, and you're black. So that means you're an average nigga. And I'm going to show you what average niggas do. And he took me to Skid Row and drove around. He said, you see that dude right there, that homeless dude right there? He got a C. You see this one? He got a C. This is where you get C's. This is where you're going to be. Yeah. And he said, I'm going to start whooping you for those C's. And it started. If you got a C, you was in trouble. Now, mind you, This is my father that during this time was doing all kinds of stuff. He was had all kinds of doing so many different things that he shouldn't have been doing.
That's right.
But he was still on top of us for our education. He didn't care. Education to him was the key to everything.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can actually get out of your situation is through education.
Come on, son.
And if you don't get that education, you're going to find yourself in that same hole and you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and so my daddy really pushed that education to the full.
And let's be clear. Hold on, Dad. Let's be clear. Education don't necessarily mean he didn't necessarily mean a 4-year degree.
No,
he didn't mean that.
Right.
He mean learning something,
something.
Whether you go to school, whether you learn a trade, whether you do something.
Oh my God, I got something to skip.
Okay.
I remember I should tell them this year. I don't care what you be. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, or an Indian chief.
Yeah.
But you gotta be some damn body. And I meant that.
You know, so
I meant
be the
that.
Trash man, be the best trash
Yeah,
man.
be the best trash man. You know, I'm feeling the Holy Spirit really got me really feeling this here. I'm gonna get to the other part of being a daddy. I had enough from father. A daddy is a sperm donor. Yeah, that's what I had. A daddy, a sperm donor. That's all I did was donate his sperm to my mother. You know, but a father is one that goes the long haul. Even though my children are grown, they don't ask nothing from me. But as their father, I still feel obligated rather, to do for them if they ask me for it. You know, because that's my duty. You know, my son's birthday was yesterday. Turned 56. I didn't have to bring him. I didn't buy him nothing.
Mm-mm.
He would have loved me anyhow.
I wouldn't expect nothing.
You know.
Wouldn't have expected nothing.
But that's my child.
And boy, he laced me out. He bought me 3 bomb shirts, 2 pair of cufflinks. It's really sharp. I would show it to you, but I don't want y'all to see how fly I'm gonna be because I have the shirt off. But my dad just loves us that much where he did that for me. You know, at 56 years old, you wouldn't expect your daddy to do nothing for you. And I was not looking for anything.
Yeah.
But that's how the love that he has for us through all that we've been through. He still loves his children.
So, hold on just a second. Y'all keep it going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, excuse me. I don't know if it's my way of making up for not being there when I should have been there. Keeping those engagements with you and my son priorities, you know. And I'm sorry.
But you know, Dad, it's a blessing really, you know, because it made me a stronger man to be able to deal with stuff. And now through all that, you know, we're still close, you know, through so many things, you know. Now you're about to have me crying, but
don't do that.
I remember the time when I couldn't stand you, you know.
Right.
I used to ask for when I lost my mother.
I understand. Put it out there. Put it out there.
God, why did you take my mama?
Put it out there, son.
She was the only real parent I had, and you took my mama from me.
Yeah.
Right when I said I'm gonna start preaching,
you
take my mama from me. Why did you take my daddy?
Yeah.
And I mean, had so much hurt, and then God just told me, He said, "Son, you don't understand this right now, but I didn't take your daddy because if I would take your daddy, he wouldn't be where I want him to be.
Hallelujah!
I still got work for your daddy to do.
Thank you, Jesus.
Your mama has already met that. She's coming to see me in heaven.
Thank you, Jesus.
But your daddy, he got to stay here and work out some things in his life before I take him. But now my daddy's 74 years old. His whole life has changed. He's a deacon. He's doing everything. He's got a beautiful house, beautiful cars. He's doing it. He was what we say. He's balling.
Yeah.
Daddy's balling. He's balling out of control. And it's the same daddy that I saw doing a lot of hustling on the streets all the time. He does not do that anymore. No. So I have seen God work in his life and in my life.
And he is taking that and trying to help younger kids.
Yeah.
And he has worked in placement for over 30 years,
years.
helping young boys
Young boys.
not do the things that he has done,
Right.
sharing parts of his life, like I shared parts of my life with y'all, in hopes that it will, if you know somebody, it'll change your direction. And it's a blessing. My dad has helped. There's some he couldn't save, some he couldn't get to, but there are many over the past 30 years that he has.
So many.
Yeah. So that's
changed their lives all around.
That's the give back.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on, because here's another thing. After our conversation on Wednesday, Danielle called down with baby.
Okay, cool.
We started watching the Mike Tyson show,
Like
the documentary.
Documentary, right.
And we were just talking about the importance of a father or a father figure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the destruction or the impact of an absent parent. But let's change it up for a moment, shall we? What if you have the impact of a parent who's present, but he emotionally abusive? Because he had that. His mother
was present.
His mother was physically present, but she did not what? She said, you ain't gonna never be nothing.
He never believed in him.
Your daddy wasn't nothing. You ain't gonna never be nothing.
Yeah.
No matter what he did, she said, you just disappoint me. Until he met, go ahead, Dad.
Costamato. But my daughter left out when Mike went to the Olympics and he got the gold medal. Okay.
Yeah, the Junior Olympics.
Junior Olympics. He didn't get in the break.
Well, daddy's old. But when he came and presented it to his mother, what got me, she just looked at it, and he had given her an article. Mm-hmm. At that time, she should have been praising her son, jumping all over the house, praising the Lord, and however, if you're in a Christian, you just be happy.
Yeah.
But we as Christians, we praise the Lord.
That's right. That's what we do.
That's what we do. But even at that, she still said, "You ain't gonna be nothing." Then he met this. If you guys know anything about it, he met this trainer, Costamato. I'm just kind of skip you pieces. This white man had faith in this young man, build his confidence up, took him into his home with his white family,
right, and
raised him, but not just that son, he adopted him.
Legally adopted him.
Legally adopted him.
It's funny about that whole story on that with Costamato, because when Mike Tyson said he was so scared to lose a fight.
He didn't want to disappoint.
He didn't want to disappoint Costamato,
right,
and lose his love for him.
Yeah.
And when Mike Tyson, when he went to the Olympics, he lost his gold medal in the Olympics.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, come on out.
He was thinking that Cuss is going to kick, because his mother was telling him, as soon as you lose, he's going to kick you out the house.
Right.
So his whole thing, the reason he fought the way he fought so viciously, because he did not want to lose. And that just reminds me of something about that, what we're talking about. Costamato was a father figure to him.
Exactly.
And that his father figure had that much impact on him, that he did not want to fail.
Yeah.
And I just know in my life with my dad, I didn't want to fail anything, because I didn't want my daddy to say, "Oh, you couldn't do that? What's wrong with you, man? If you lost your mind, you can do anything you put your mind to." And I never wanted to fail at anything, because I didn't want my father to be disappointed in me. And in watching that, it's reminded me of that. Mike Tyson did not want to lose, because he didn't want to be the disappointment to Cuz.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go any further, and going back to your question, we unlock, that definitely is an impact of a father.
Right.
Far as on a young man and a young woman. Because as a mom, we're nurturing and this, that, and the other. And I think, and again, this is just my personal opinion, because we're supposed to be nurturing them, because we, kissing the boo-boos and all that kind of stuff. the compliments that we give our children don't have the same impact.
No.
It don't have the same impact. But to look at, I will tell you, to your point, I remember, I didn't share this with y'all. Well, I did share it with y'all. When I was 18, I got in trouble and went to jail for a weekend. The person that I was most afraid to face was my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time, he was really, he was a major father figure in my life. So I looked at my mom, I was just, I was sad that I disappointed her. I was sad that I disappointed my aunt, whatever, because she's the one paid to get me out. But my grandfather, my daughter, I've told my daughter how many times over the years I was proud of her. You were so smart. And she said, thank you. But the moment she felt that she had disappointed her father, so that is how important men and women, fathers are. So again, I'm going to the ladies because I am one.
Yeah.
Get your mind right.
That's right.
Get over your freaking selves.
Yes.
Where it comes to those kids. And if the father, they'll find out.
That's right. Yes.
They'll find out.
But don't deprive them of that, because again, the father figure that this Mike Tyson had, it changed that boy's life.
Whole life. Made a difference.
Heavyweight champion of the world, younger than anybody ever.
Yeah.
At like 20 years old, he was a heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
Just what Cussett did in his life.
And again, it made me cry because again, when I was watching, I'm like, this mom, excuse me, Dad, was shitting on her son the whole time.
Yeah.
Even when he would try, it's like, ain't nothing good enough.
But that whole saying reminds me of an old Ice Cube song. He said, when Pops is in the house, all the BS stops. And a lot of times when there's a Pops in the house, all that BS is going to stop. Because you don't want to disappoint your father. Then mama, it's okay. But mama will get over it.
She'll get over it.
She'll get over it. She love me anyway.
Yeah.
My mama love me, so she's going to get over it in a minute. Yeah. But daddy, nah. When Pops is in the house, all the BS stops. So to answer your question, that's how I'm going to answer about the difference of being a daddy and being a father. When your father's in the house, all the BS stops.
I just want to say, I don't know if you guys, audience, caught this. My daughter said a curse word. She said, "Excuse me, Daddy." She's a grown woman.
Grown woman.
But once again. But my kids, they respect me and love me so much, that they when they do it, they say, "Excuse me." Now this one here, at times, he's getting better. He
was a sailor too long.
I was a sailor. I was a submarine sailor. What do you expect?
I say, Vaughn, watch your mouth.
He always say, Vaughn, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
Daddy, I'm a grown ass man. I don't fight that battle. I let that marinate in here, because I let it marinate in it. Okay. And now I didn't tell you, son. I'm gonna tell you today on orders. I really commend you for respecting me. Like we struggled about you cursing in front of me. You slip sometime, but when he slipped, he never did do. He would say, but now he says, "Excuse me, Daddy," and I say, "Baby, Daddy, understand." but the thing about it, see, this goes out for these young people. Middle-aged people, young men and women, you have to plant that foundation of respect with your children.
That's right.
Okay. And even though I wasn't the best dad, no, I'll be the first one to admit it. But I instilled that in them at an early age. Yeah, the early age.
Because as a teenager, there's no way I would have cursed in front of my daddy. I would have got killed. I wouldn't be here to talk to you right now.
God.
You did not do that. I hear these kids cursing in front of their mom. I remember I just seen some kids, little kids, man, just cursing their mothers out, cussing their daddies out. It's like, where did you come from? And what are your parents doing that they allow you
that
to
goes
talk
back,
like that?
That goes back to, again, who you lay down with and where they from.
Yeah.
Because our mothers based on how they was raised, they would never. My mom was grown and married. She told me a story. She was grown and married to my stepfather at the time. And I thought she wouldn't even smoke a cigarette in front of her. And she was grown and on her own.
In front of Mr. Jones.
Wouldn't smoke a cigarette in front of my father, much less curse. So again,
come on.
It
serve it, T, serve it.
And that's the way I taught my daughter. So if you hanging with women's and men's that is reckless like that around their people, red flag.
Red flag.
Yeah, for sure.
Red flag.
Because if they reckless around their people like that, they're gonna be reckless with you. With their mouth.
That's real. That's real. That's for sure.
Okay, last we're gonna talk about this right here. And this part right here, because we gotta wrap it up because my G baby on the way. My G baby on the way. This right here. Trafficking. My dad wanted to talk about that. And you said, well, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? Tell him, Dad.
Okay. What leads to that is young girls. I know it's young men, but I never deal with young men in that area. But young girls that didn't have a stable home. They've seen their mothers have men running in and out of their home. They've seen their mother have, as I almost said, not politely, having whorish ways. And then a lot of times these young girls were molested by their mother's boyfriends or stepdads or whatever. So.
And the father's not in the house.
And the father's not in the house. Okay. So when she goes out into the world and she meets a smooth, pretty guy.
Like you were?
Like I was. Fast tongue.
Yeah, quick.
Fast tongue. You can look at her and tell where she's been deprived of. So what you do, you nurture that. You're buying her in. She just thinks you're being nice, but you have an ulterior motive. Okay. An ulterior motive is to put her out there. Okay. Because most women, and I'm saying this to the old school P's out there, if you was a real P, you know what I'm talking about. You nurtured on the weak. You're nurtured on the weak. And it doesn't really matter what about what type of woman it is. I've had TOs, which TOs is for y'all who don't know, is turnouts. Okay, you could nurture on that. Okay, because somewhere in their life, it really wasn't that smooth, really wasn't that good. The father wasn't in the home. Okay. Then once again, you nurture on the weakness. And see, so that's how that trafficking, well, now they call it trafficking. Okay. Back in my days, it was called pimping.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's how these young girls get caught up in this stuff like that. And then, from what I've read and what I've seen, they do it a whole different way. Yeah. They take the girl's ID and all that, and and
drug them up,
and threaten their parents. Mine wasn't like that. I didn't take no ID. I ain't threatening your parents and stuff. Because if you don't want to be with this pimping, you can get on. Because there was so many others that wanted to be with this. And when I say this, I'm not building that up. But I thank God from where he brought me through to where I am now. Okay. And I was telling my kids this morning and last night, God has been really good to me. Because all the wrong stuff I've done, I've never been to the penitentiary. Never. And I was doing things, trust me, I'm not going to do, into it, but I just heard my son say, I was doing everything. But God kept me. He kept me protected from the seen and unseen danger.
And protected him from himself.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
He
did.
protected us for dealing with it.
But I think one of the key points, though, is, and of course, they have the tactics that, they trick girls to go on a date and then they take them somewhere. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the finessing.
Yeah, it's finessing.
And
that's a new word.
And one of the things, if a father, and this is why I'm saying a mom can teach a girl as much as she possibly can.
Right.
But a father is going to put his daughter up on game.
Lace her up, yeah.
So when she's, and not to say it's going to be smooth sailing, because it's not, but I already told you, we already talked about on Wednesday, if the father-daughter relationship is not there, either she will unwittingly go in the wrong direction, making wrong choices on her own,
right?
Or she will be susceptible to the trickeration of someone else.
Yeah. Why don't you tell them about your friend Gators?
Gators? Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit.
We talked about it. Yeah.
We talked about it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
There was a guy.
I was
a guy I was dating. I was really liking him. He was a smooth talker, good looking. I had a type. He kind of met that type.
Sure did.
And I thought that because he kind of reminded me of my father, I thought my father would like him.
Hell no.
So, he wasn't out in the street like that, but he had, some streetish. He was streetwise. I'll put it like that. Yeah. So again, I'm here in the DFW. I called my dad because I wanted my dad to talk to him and, maybe meet or whatever. So my dad is talking to him, and I can see that he's trying to impress my father, because I'm not hearing what my dad is saying, but I'm hearing what he's saying to my dad, and he's trying to impress him. Go ahead.
But
take it over.
No. I want you to build them up to what I get, because you told them about how your dad is dressed. So
yes.
Then.
Oh yeah.
You got to build them up to where it's coming.
Yeah, I told him about my dad, how my dad was in the life, how my dad was reformed, but he was in the life, how he had, tailor-made suits, Cadillacs, jewels, as my father says, hats, alligator shoes, women, and not just when he was in life, but just women automatically flocked to him because my dad, like my dad said, he was fine then, he's cute now. So, I built him up about the legend that was Cadillac Jay. So he had that in his mind when he would talk to my dad.
Come on now.
Take it over.
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
I'll interrupt.
Okay, so he had the idea of the persona of my dad because I told him, and I think I showed him some pictures of my dad back in the day. That's Janice. Would you go get that real quick?
Excuse me.
So yeah, at the front door. So he was talking to my dad, trying to hype it up. And then my dad was like, I'd already been speaking to my father, but something in the tone in my father's voice changed. I'm like, what happened? So go ahead.
Well, for one, real game recognized little game. And I saw it was little game that he was trying to present to my daughter, but to her, as if you heard what she said, she was impressed with his style, his finesse, because it was some remembrance of remembering her dad.
Yeah, resembling. Yeah.
So on that note too, women will be attracted to certain men that reminds them of their father, good, bad, or indifferent.
Hear that?
And so when I started talking to the young man, he was trying to put too much on. Okay, and I recognized that he was, trying to impress too much and doing too much. You gotta do all that. What you have to understand, regardless of if I was in life, I'm still her father, man, and that don't change. And after I got to talk to the young man, I said, Terry, toss that nigga.
In those words.
Yeah, I had to say it like that. Toss that nigga. Yeah.
And here's the thing. At first, he didn't tell me why. Because I just noticed something was different in my dad. Because initially, my dad was excited to talk to him. Mm-hmm. But afterward, my dad was not excited to talk. And he didn't tell me until later why. But
I'm sorry.
That's yeah. Okay, this is the signal that it's time for us to go because my G baby is here. Mm-hmm. The alarm is speaking to us because people going in and out of the house. But we just want to have a little coffee and conversation this morning because my brother's here, my dad is here, mm-hmm. And I think we've had some really good moments of communication and healing.
Yes.
And we want to encourage those of you, whether you as the parent need to do some healing or you as the child need to talk to your parent about some healing. Yeah. Because again, it don't change the past, but it helps to talk through the residual effects of the past.
And the future.
And the future.
And it helps the future.
Yeah. That's right. So again, I thank everyone for joining us. Thank you for the super chat. For the super chats. Thank you for spending time with us this morning. I really appreciate it. So I got to go play with my G baby, and this is he. Oh, go ahead, Dad.
If some of you guys remember, throughout my conversations, I've always mentioned God. There was a time that I wouldn't mention God. No. Sometimes I think I mentioned it too much to some people, but I'm just glad where he brought me from. And I'm going to share with the world, And for you brothers and sisters, get close with the Lord. That's right. Because that's your only salvation. That's right. Because when it's time to go home, you want to be able to go to heaven. That's right. Okay. I'm a believer. Some people don't believe that you're going to heaven or whatever, but I'm telling you this here. If it's good enough for my great-grandma, good enough for my mama, and good enough for my grandma, good enough for me. That's right. And so get into church. You don't have to go every Sunday, but at least give God some of your time because he doesn't ask for much. He asks for a little, but he gives you so much.
Amen.
I want to thank my sister for letting me be on her thing today. It's beautiful to see I call her my big little sister because I'm older than her, but she acts like she's my big sister.
Right.
It's beautiful to be with my big little sister and my dad this morning and yesterday. It's been a beautiful day. And I hope somebody got something out of all this that will help you through your life. That's what it's all about. I know my sister wouldn't do this if she didn't want to help somebody that's in a bad situation and she can help you out of it. That's what she likes to do. And it's a blessing. Thank you once again for letting me be here, sister.
Because let me say this because my daughter, she retired.
I am.
She ain't got to do nothing but sit back and look beautiful and collect that check from Brother Randolph.
She got her own checks too.
Yeah, she got her own checks.
Yeah. Ain't just Brother Randolph.
Yeah.
She retired. You said she retired 2 or 3 times.
So this platform that she started is helping someone. This, you know what? For those who don't really know what time this is her form of ministry. Hello, somebody. Okay.
They call me auntie, so I got many internet nieces and nephews in these streets.
Yeah.
In these YouTube streets. So again, and some sisters some adopted sisters in Mills. I think you either my age or you're older than me, so you can't be my niece.
Yeah,
but actually,
you
she
can. My wife has nieces and nephews that's older than her.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true. Okay.
This has been beautiful.
So thank y'all. Y'all have a good day. Be safe out there, and we will catch you next time.
Later.
God bless you.